The city of Calgary is moving towards removing all the single-family home zoning in the city. Is this going to affect my property's value? How is this going to change our city? How is it going to affect property values? And is this going to actually do what the city of Calgary is setting out for it to do? The city of Calgary has created a Home is Here initiative, which essentially is going after affordability in Calgary. It's an initiative that is going to be set forth in 2024 up to 2030, and it's a 6-year plan for how to basically figure out housing affordability in the city. The report found that 1 in 5 homes in Calgary currently cannot afford their homes. So what that means is that 1 in 5 homes earns less than 65% of Calgary's median income and spends more than 30% on income on shelter. The Home is Here report reported that last year, 42,000 people came to Calgary, the most new Calgarians in a single year in our history. And we expect 110,000 new Calgarians over the next 4 years. As Calgary starts to and continues to shed the bad feelings that it had before, when people from Vancouver, from Toronto, from other parts of the country were talking about us, we were always that, little oil town that was kind of dirty and don't move there because it's kind of gross. Well, that has changed. That has changed a lot. There's a lot of people who have moved here over the last number of years and are reporting back to their friends, to their family and saying, wait a minute, this is not like what we thought it was. And we absolutely love it. Now, this is exciting. That is a good thing, but it also causes problems. And housing affordability is one of them, because if you have so many people who are moving here who have cash and who are fighting for homes and purchasing them, it comes down to supply and demand. I don't know how many times I've said that on this channel, but supply and demand. If there's not enough supply to meet the demand, then we're going to have some problems when it comes to affordability because prices will rise. Another thing in this report is that the city of Calgary is wanting to add and make it easier for builders to add 3,000 non-market homes per year and about 1,000 market-ready homes per year. So non-market homes are things that are properties made directly and specifically for rentals. They're not going to be for sale. And the market homes are properties that are for sale. And I think this is a good thing. As you've seen in past charts, the number of rentals that are growing in the city that are being built is growing and outpacing single family and condo new builds. Like it's going bananas right now. And that is okay, because when people move to a new city, typically you don't want to buy something. You want to kind of move in, you want to rent something, you want to see what it's like, find the right areas, figure out where you're going to live. And from there, after you've been here for maybe 6 months, a year, then you're going to purchase something because you know a little bit more about where you want to live. The other thing that they are planning on doing, and this is where I want to spend most of the video on, so we have an R1, R2 zoning. R1 zoning in the city right now is made for single family homes. This is one dwelling on one lot, and 60% of current properties in the city are zoned for that. So there's a large chunk of properties that are R1 zoned homes. And what's going to happen is they are going to get rid of that single family dwelling and move it all to RCG, which allows for single family homes, semi-detached properties, townhouses, row houses, and more suites. So like basement suites, garage suites. It's just basically a single zoning that allows lots of different property types to be on it. So RCG is not a new zoning in the city. RCG has been around for a little bit, mainly on like corner lots on busier intersections. So what that did, and you can see in these quick clips here, these are types of properties that it got turned into. It used to have single family homes on those corner lots, but then the RCG zoning would allow for up to 4, sometimes 8 units on the property itself because the doors went along the length of the property. And so now you're able to have sideways townhomes up to 4 units above, and sometimes depending on the property, you're allowed to have 4 units in the basement. So you'd have a total of 8 units on this one area. And so all it really was doing was allowing more density and basically allowing kind of more affordable homes in one area. And you weren't really able to do this kind of anywhere in the city. It was typically in inner city, older lots that met certain square footage of the lot itself, frontage, depth, all that kind of stuff. And it allowed a builder to essentially have more properties on one lot. Now, personally, I think this is a great idea. I think the changing of the zoning is going to allow more options for redevelopment in the future. I have personally not seen all the requirements for what's going to be allowed on these RCG lots when they make the change, but I would assume there's going to have to be some kind of a way to filter through and understand what you can do and what you can't do. Now, you're not going to just all of a sudden start seeing townhomes popping up in Citadel on a single lot, or down in Auburn Bay. You're not going to just start seeing that happening. And some of these lots are only 30 feet wide, 25 feet wide. So they're not going to have enough lot to build what a builder would want to build. So you're not just going to start seeing, all these townhouses and attached properties popping up all over the city. So I don't think we're going to see that. But what it does do is it allows for the larger lots where there's a tiny 900 square foot bungalow on a 50 foot by 120 foot lot. It's going to start allowing developers and builders to be kind of a lot more creative. I have seen some properties where they're starting to do front and back, where there's kind of an open area in the middle. So they could do 3 units on the street, could do 3 units behind, and in between the two buildings that it kind of have erected is a little bit of an opening, a garden way, right? And so everyone has kind of a front door and a back door, and it's kind of unique. It's kind of cool. And there's some really unique designs that can come from that. Now, another thing that the city is planning on doing within the next 2 years, they said, is to have at least $10,000 per unit for secondary suites, with at least 400 new secondary suites each year. What this means is there's going to be incentives from the city for building a suite or a basement suite or a garage suite. And so if you have thought about or ever wanted to have a suite in your basement or build one of the carriage suites, garage suites above your garage, you might want to wait for this initiative to come in because there could be some incentives for you to actually apply and build this. And so I think that is also kind of an interesting opportunity for those that are kind of considering what they want to do. Now, I do think we could start seeing more garage suites and potentially basement suites across the city, where there is a back lane with a garage in the back and someone wants to build a suite above that. That is something that we could start seeing a lot more of in the coming years. But again, it's not going to happen tomorrow. All of these things are going to take time, and over the next maybe 3-4 years, 5 years, that's when we might start seeing some of this stuff taking effect. Now, one off concern that I have is with all of these people coming in, I have not seen anything that is tied to traffic, tied to roads, tied to making things easier. We're still waiting for parts of the ring road to be completed, for goodness sake. I don't know if any of you have seen anything about the city and what the city is saying about traffic and making things flow better. And please share it in the comments, because I personally have not seen anything. And that is kind of a concern for me in terms of how is the city proactively planning and trying to figure out what they're going to do for future traffic issues. The other concern that I have about all of this is this actually going to work? Is this initiative actually going to create more affordable options for buyers who are trying to get into properties? And here's why I say this. Builders are businesses, and when a builder is building a property, they want to make money on it. Is there going to be some sort of initiatives to keep these properties more affordable? You can sure build stuff for rental, but then again, it's still for profit because you're still making money on the rental. I'm not saying that we need non-profit builders. That's not what I'm saying, because I believe that if you are putting out value in the world, you should be able to, make money from that. And if you're helping people, that's a great thing. But what I do think is builders can make money on increasing the quality of the finishings in a home. And so if you go to renovate a home, for example, if you put a new roof in, put a new furnace in, you do all the mechanical types stuff, that is not where you make the money. The money that you make is in how it looks, how it flows, opening up walls, making it pretty, putting the right countertops in, doing the bathrooms, the kitchens. It's doing all the aesthetically pleasing things, and that is what brings more profit when you're doing a flip or a renovation and you're planning on selling it, which is a flip. A builder is also going to want to make it as aesthetically pleasing as well. So instead of them charging $700,000 for something, maybe they're able to get $500,000. But again, if the cost of land is going up, you're not going to have enough profit or margins to actually make it work. And so are these properties that could happen and be built actually be more affordable? That's the reality. And that's where I question the whole plan is this actually going to allow it to be affordable? If there's 1 in 5 homes that can't afford their own housing situation right now, how is creating, more options for density in certain areas going to allow them to afford their current property? I mean, there's so much more to this than just this. And I hope, and I really do think that this is a start, because we have to consider this. We have to look as a city, and the city, people that are working at the city, they have to look at what has happened in Vancouver and Toronto, and we can't let it go that far. Now, the thing that we have going for us is the city of Calgary can still build out, right? Vancouver and Toronto have to build up. And that is where the density for those cities gets really, really dense and properties get really, really expensive, is because they can't continue to grow out. We can continue to grow out, but do we want to continue the sprawl? Do we want Calgary to continue to get wider and wider and wider versus going up? And I do think that this can help and solve some of that problem and allow more density in some of the areas that are not dense at all, where there's a lot of large lot, single family properties, that could end up helping some of those areas. And so at the end of the day, I don't think this is a band-aid trying to solve a problem. I don't think this is the perfect solution. I don't know what exactly is going to be. But what I do know, and a question that a lot of you have asked us and reached out to us about, is this going to affect my property's value? And my gut says no. I really don't believe this is going to decrease your value in the future because of this zoning. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and a lot of what I've said, and it's because you're not just going to see random gross townhouses built beside you all of a sudden. You're not going to start seeing all of these things happening right around you. If your lot and if your property is great for changing the property type that is on the lot, and if that's something that your property and your home is good for, then builders are going to be willing to pay for it. But then that circles back to, if they're willing to pay for it, how are they going to make it more affordable for more people? And it just, the circle and the cycle continues of asking these questions, right? And honestly, is this whole thing going to actually change affordability or keep things more affordable for the future? I guess time will just tell.